So on today's table of knowledge, we're doing K for KPIs. And so I have a very special guest today, Martin Lowe, who is my business partner in Evaluate Your Business. And so first of all, can you tell us what Evaluate Your Business is all about?
Well, thanks, Joe, for having me on today. Evaluate Your Business was brought about by the idea of actually helping business leaders find balance and thrive in their day-to-day operations. So whether it be personal challenges that they may have or business challenges. So it's really all about helping them find that right balance.
And you might notice we're in some sort of weird location right now. So, and I'm looking very tired.
As am I.
So we're just down here in Melbourne doing a 3-day course at the Institute of Executive Coaching and Learning on coaching. So level 1 coaching certificate, which you've already done a coaching certificate, but I haven't. And so Martin's doing it again just to freshen up and find a different way of coaching, I guess. Is that what you're getting out of today?
Yeah, correct. So more focused around organisational coaching. So my prior coaching was all about wellness. So how to coach in wellness, and this is more focused around the organisational piece.
Yeah, okay. And we are a bit tired. So excuse us if we seem a little bit after a long day. So let's talk about KPIs. And can you tell me what a KPI is, first of all?
Sure. So a KPI is a key performance metric or key performance indicator that businesses use to measure either individual or business performance to a particular target.
And why do you think they're important?
So there's a few reasons. I think first and foremost, it allows you to track your progress. I think what's important is actually, there's a saying that says that if you don't measure it, you can't monitor it, therefore you can't manage it. So it's something that I quite often use when I'm engaging with people, that if they want to set KPIs, just to remind them as to why they're setting KPIs and how they're important and why they're important to a business.
So can you give me an example of some or a KPI or some couple of examples maybe?
Sure. So KPIs are used in a number of different scenarios. They could be used to measure sales growth. Primarily, I kind of look at KPIs if I'm going to set or work with someone to set KPIs, I'll look at 3 elements. The first one is business growth. The second one is team collaboration or culture and satisfaction. And third, not necessarily on this order, is customer satisfaction. So there's those 3 elements that I would always look to. Is the metric that you're setting or the KPI that you're setting, does it address one of those 3 areas?
Yeah. And so we've found in the past, and I mean, we use KPIs, as you know, because you're started working with Jigsaw a little bit as well. Oh, actually, not a little bit. You are working with Jigsaw. And as we develop, Evaluate Your Business. So hopefully we'll get to a point, not hopefully, we will get to a point where you will be able to do that as a standalone business. But in the meantime, while we start to develop what we're doing, you're working for Jigsaw, and we've been definitely talking about KPIs a lot this last couple of weeks. One of the things I've found is sometimes if you're just measuring one KPI, it can be, people can have some negative behaviours to it. Have you ever found that, where if there's one thing that they're driving to, they might exclude other things?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that's really important when you set KPIs is that if you set the target too high and it's too stretched that people can't achieve, it's not that motivating. And the same can be said on the flip side. If it's too low, it's also not motivating.
That's right. It's too easy.
It's too easy. And if you've only got one KPI to work towards, it doesn't really give you that stretch, if you like.
I think just from my example or my observations, so one of the KPIs that we often use in accounting is productivity. So how productive are you? In accounting firms, we measure our time. So we actually put in what we do all day and measure it against whether it's billable or not. So productivity for us is really how many hours a day are you spending doing billable work versus non-billable work. Now, thinking about that, if you were being judged on that and that was the only thing you're being judged on, you're going to potentially drag out time. You might say, well, I've been doing billable work all day, but I've been on the same job and I've spent 8 hours doing something that could have been done in 2. So you've got to really be careful that there's enough scope in your KPIs to make sure that you're getting the behaviours that you really want.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what about with customers? How would you look at KPIs on that?
So I think things like customer retention is something that is very measurable, and which is essentially a measure of your loss rate. And a lot of businesses will set a retention rate. So they might say that in the next 12 months we don't want to lose any more than 2% of our customers or 5% of our customers, and they'll set a rate. Customer satisfaction as well, in terms of there's tools out there that are used to help you measure those sorts of things, like NPS, which is Net Promoter Score, is a tool that is often used in a lot of businesses.
So can you explain how that works?
So it's a scale essentially from 1 to 10, and ultimately your customers rate the performance or how satisfied they are with the service they provided from you based on a set of questions that you ask them.
Right. Okay. So it's sort of like almost like a survey at the end?
It is, yes.
Okay. So that's probably why when you're doing, when you ring Telstra, they'll say, can you just stay on the phone and give me a 5 out of 5? All right. Is there anything else you want to add about KPIs?
No, not really. Just how important it is for a business, and also from an individual perspective as well. Just from a growth standpoint, it's important to measure and track your performance. And if you don't have a target, it's very hard to tell how you're performing and how you're succeeding in your role or in your organisation. So having that target and that metric, it actually helps, really give you some indication as to how you're performing in the role, but also how you're contributing to the business.
For sure. So if you do need some help with KPIs, you can always come and ask us to evaluate your business.
Absolutely.
Martin will be very happy to come and have a chat to you. We also, like with regard to the executive coaching that we're learning about today, a lot of that's about goals and setting goals. Now they're probably more personal goals, but as a business, you might want to set some goals about where you're heading, and the KPIs will help you measure that as well. So there's a whole lot of work that can be done in that, and I would definitely ask you to have a think about that. So, K for KPI.
KPIs.
All right, well, we're going to probably go to bed because we're really tired. But, thanks for joining us on today's podcast.